You can see that I've opened an image set, but before we start keying, I'm going to walk you through quickly the how-tos of the keying tool. So you'll notice up at the top that there's File, Edit, Image, Highlight, Data, and Help in the menu. In the File, I want to point out that there is an Options menu where you can change the size of the font, change your highlight color, reset the data entry columns, and that's if you have sorted them and you want to go back to the default sorting of it. And you can also change the language of both the keying tool and the field helps. In order to change the language, you will need to log out and log back in. In the help, I'm going to point out the shortcut keys. It's very beneficial, I think, to know what the shortcut keys are, to know that the Alt right arrow will bring you to the next image. Other shortcuts such as F7 to accept the field, F3 to take the field above it, and other things that if you're a keyboard person you'll want to look at that article. The keying standards, it'll bring you directly to the online keying standards help article. The online help will bring you to the wiki page with links to all of the articles. The project instructions are important because they provide you detailed information about that project, both the content and how it should be keyed. Specific instructions just for that project that go along with the field helps. View more about this project will bring you to the project page. And the other one I want to point out is contact support, and that will open up a form where you can enter your contact information and the question that you have, and it'll send an email to our support team so they can help you with that question. In the top left corner you'll see here this blue arrow will bring you back to the previous image. If you have noticed that you've done something wrong, or if you were, had an epiphany of what the year was and you had thought it was 1821 but really it was 1827, you can go back and correct anything on that last image. Here is where you can select to view the images. Opening up a new window, it'll show you image 1, and then you can click to view image 2 as well from there. You can zoom in and zoom out. You can do a custom zoom as well. If you need to rotate the image because it's upside down, the rotation buttons will help. You'll see there, now I'm going to rotate it back counterclockwise. This icon here that the mouse is on is meant to be able to do custom rotation, and so if your image is just slightly askew, you can do just a smaller slant than what it was, a smaller angle. High contrast is beneficial when you have a document. You'll see the difference there in having it on and off. That's difficult to read, and that will be an automatic adjustment that we've preset. Selecting the image options allows you to adjust the brightness and contrast to your own liking. You can click the highlights to turn the highlights on and off. Here there's a highlight somewhere on this page. There it is. We had to find it. I was down a little lower when I had it up last. And then next, here's how you change the form type. Clicking on change will bring up all of the list of forms that you can look at. The field help, if you've already keyed many image sets in the specific project and you're pretty comfortable with where the information is and how it should be keyed, you can actually minimize that by clicking on those little double arrows and then open it back up by doing the same. In this toolbar, you'll notice you can click on this to accept the field is correct, and it also gives you that shortcut of F7. If you need to mark it blank, Control B, illegible, Control I, copy the field above, and you'll see that I've done that with dryer there and done the F3. You can add a record if you've noticed that you missed one and you need to go back. Highlight the field above it, the record above, and then you can click on the Add Record, and you select above or below, and it will enter the record there. I'm going to highlight that record and remove it now. You can move the rows up or down with these arrows. You can mark an entire row blank, which doesn't happen often, but there may be projects that will tell you that if there's a blank line that you need to move on to the next line and actually leave that space there. And that's where this can come in handy. Adding sections is useful when you have projects where there's double pages or 2 pages on one image, and oftentimes you may need to add a new section to be able for the tool to recognize which entries were from which page and which entries from the other. International characters are important. The diacritics are characters that each of the languages use that are not found for us in typical English writing. The French ones that I've been keying, of course, accent is one of the most common. C with the cedilla we see always often as well, and you'll notice that there's quite a variety. Some you may not ever see as you're keying, but they're there in case you see them on the record. As you're keying along, and you'll notice that you need an E accent, you just double click. As you're typing, you can bring up that dialogue, and it will enter in the E wherever your cursor is. The sample handwriting, when you click that, it'll bring up another pop-up window that shows you just some variations of letters in the alphabet. The last thing I want to point out is this fields to review. You'll notice here that I have this red field that still is in the coral color, meaning that I need to review it before I can move on. Clicking on this brings up a pop-up that'll explain how to do that, and then if I click here, I can either control blank or enter in the name that it is. I hope that this has given you a little bit more information about the keying tool and made it a little more comfortable for you to use it. Happy keying!